Hey guys, welcome to The Shack, an LTWK podcast. We are so glad to be with you. We know we're all stuck at home, as you can see. We kind of got our different backgrounds going on. So we're podcasting from our home during this stay-at-home quarantine thing going on. We thought we'd try to give you a few things that are cool to listen to. We gave the camp cooking one, which was really good. I had a buddy of mine from Florida who's not really a knife guy. Talked to him last night on the phone. He goes, "Hey, listen to that camp cooking podcast. Makes me want to go camping and get a knife." And I'm like, "All right." But he was one of my musicians. He was in my band from years ago. It was funny. I didn't even know he listened to our stuff. And he goes, "Man, that was a good podcast." And I thought it was too. We did a lot of cool stuff on that. So if you've missed that one, you guys need to back up and check out the camp cooking one on the podcast. But we wanted to bring you some things to hang out and listen to, so you can see this on YouTube as well as on podcast, right? Mike, am I saying everything right?
Yes. So all the usual podcast networks, and then it's also available on YouTube if you want to look at us.
Yeah, if you want to look at it.
It's a big F.
Cool. As far as we know, Nick's with us today in actual video.
We thought I was here last time, but yeah.
He was doing his magic stuff.
He has a face for radio, so we tried to keep it that way.
There you go. There you go.
So we're all here. All right, guys, introduce yourselves. I am LT.
Don't everybody go at once.
No, you're supposed to point at somebody.
Well, we don't know who he's pointing
We're going
at,
from
so
oldest to youngest, so Scott's next.
I'm here this time.
Good to hear you, man, on the inside.
Mikey.
Sam.
I'm Sam. I thought he said you were going oldest to youngest.
Well, Nick already went.
I already went.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, now that we got that awkward moment out of the way, we're still new at the podcasting on YouTube thing. It's still fun. We're having a good time. But anyway, we wanted to bring you some cool stuff. So what we decided to do today, and Sam is our topic guy. So we go, "Hey, what topic are we going to work on this week?" And he throws a few at us, and we kind of go, "Okay, that's the one." What did we pick today, Sammy?
Bucket list trips.
Right on. Now, bucket list trips could be backpacking thing. It could be an overlanding thing, a wheeling thing. Could be a kayak trip of sorts. Could be an ultimate hunting trip. Just kind of giving you our thoughts on what we think would be our bucket list trip right now. I'm sure everybody has that one. I remember, when I was young, it was like, "Oh man, I want to go to Florida. I want to go to Disneyland or Disney World." So, I mean, we always had that. But I have one sitting right here on my list that is pretty much one of those ones I want to do right now. I actually have more than one, but we'll see how it goes. Nick gladly volunteered to go first. So we're going to look at Nick's bucket list. So, guys, thanks for tuning in to The Shack. We are having a great time. I know we're a little bit down. We want to keep our positive attitudes up, our spirits up. So we said, let's do a cool, fun podcast show. So here you go. Nick, lead us off in a bucket list trip.
You got it. So last night, my wife and I were watching John Panay. And if you've never seen him, he's a comedian. He passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago. But his DVDs and everything are excellent. But it all sort of snowballed because he talks about traveling all the time. And he talks about going to France and Italy. And I knew we were going to do this topic today. So we started, talking back and forth about different trips that we'd like to maybe go on and different things. And I had some and she had some. So we kind of came up with a list together. So this is sort of our shared list of things that we'd like to do. So first, the first one that popped into my head was Grand Canyon. I've been there. I've always wanted to hike it end to end, though. So that's one of those trips where, I know it's feasible. Not necessarily right this second because of everything that's going on, but one day in the near future, I'd like to do that. Go end to end in the Grand Canyon.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How, when people do actually do that trip, how long would that take? How would that?
I've heard a few different things. I think it depends mostly on your skill level and, whether or not you use pack animals and stuff like that. So it can vary. I've heard 3 days. I've heard, powering through trips with quicker times. And Um, ones that have certainly taken longer, but yeah. So I'm not 100% sure. A lot of these I don't have a ton of detail fleshed out just yet, but yeah. So
I was thinking it'd be longer than 3 days because that just seems. I mean, Grand Canyon,
right, it
Canyon.
is huge.
Thinking, boy, for a 3 day thing, that sounds fast, actually.
But yeah,
I,
if you haven't been there and you get the opportunity, I highly recommend going. It was beautiful. I went with some friends in January, and not this last January. This was a few years ago, and it was gorgeous to be there with the snow and the scenery. It was just wonderful. So ever since then, I wanted to hike it. I didn't have the opportunity on that trip, but one day.
Now, is this one of those you got to take all your food kind of hikes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
for
you're
sure.
packing it for 3 to whatever days, like
I think it's like a 3 to 5 is the usual thing if you take mules and pack animals and all that. But I'm not 100% on that. I could be wrong.
I wonder, like down inside, that probably gets cold at night, right?
It does. It does. It was funny though because in January, we were up on the rim and it was snow and it was blustery. It was actually a blizzard. They closed the road that we were driving on to get there from Phoenix.
Yep.
And because it was a total blizzard. So we didn't have any choice but to keep going though. So we got there and it's, icy cold up on the rim. And you look down in the valley and it's green and there's leaves on everything. And it was totally bizarre. They said that was pretty typical that when you get down in the valley, things tend to be in bloom a lot more. And yeah, the temperature does fluctuate, especially at night, but it tends to be pretty steady because it's so much lower down. So yeah.
That's interesting.
It was pretty cool.
That sounds like a good trip. I've never actually seen the Grand Canyon. I know Scott and Mike, when they went out to Arizona, you guys tripped over there, right?
Yeah.
Checked it out.
Yep. We were at the southern rim.
Yeah. Did you like it? I thought it was super cool myself.
What?
Did you like it? I thought it was cool.
I liked it. I thought it was really neat. I had never really seen it in person, but it was pretty cool. And we ended up actually going 2 years in a row, so that was very cool.
The screen was froze up a little bit. What'd you say, Nick?
I just asked you if you liked it, if you thought it was cool.
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. Any picture that you would ever see of it in a book or online. I had a big coffee table book of the Grand Canyon I got from my dad once. Obviously, cannot compare.
Right.
When you stand at the railing or go out a little bit on the rocks and look, it's seriously breathtaking and makes you feel about that big.
Yep. I've never felt so small.
You could stand there for hours and look. And the time, maybe the second time, but I think definitely the first time Mike and I were there, the sun was setting. It was kind of behind us if you stood in a certain spot, and you could see the shadows and the sun caressing the rocks and the lighting. And man, it was awesome. It was amazing. And we only scratched the surface of the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
One portion of it. Surely no real hiking. But the little bit that we were there, you could see that this one part was full of tourists. It was pretty cool. But there were some areas, and I'll talk about a little bit on my trip here, that you're out there by yourself. There's no guide rails. There's no safety things. You could go, what? And step off. You're gone.
Yep.
Now, for all you guys that are kind of out on the west side of the USA and go, why are they talking about this? This is in our backyard. It's like we see this stuff all the time. We're east. We're out east. We're in Ohio, PA, West Virginia. Our big cool thing is going through the tunnels into Pittsburgh. I mean that's kind of like that's our.
We have a Grand Canyon in Pennsylvania.
The Grand Canyon.
I live less than an hour from downtown Pittsburgh, and I used to pack a lunch when I was first driving to go to Pittsburgh and get the oil change because I wasn't sure. It was just like that was so far away back then. Yeah, that's why the Grand Canyon and things out there in Arizona, we're all sitting here like, oh yeah, let's go out to there. But anyway, Just letting you know. All right, Nick, I got you.
But yeah, so that was the first thing that popped into my head. The second, I am a total nerd. So the second thing that we talked about was going to New Zealand to visit the Hobbit village that they used in Lord of the Rings. And to hike around New Zealand and camp there, I think would just be wonderful. But that was a nice addition to go there and see all that.
Damn, I know what you're thinking. Well, we with our Aussie friends, right?
It might be on the list.
There you go.
That would be a cool trip, though. No doubt.
I think so. I mean, New Zealand is so gorgeous of a place all on its own. And again, to add that in, it's just really fun.
Yeah.
You can do a wellness check on some of our Pout House members.
Huh?
You can do a wellness check on some of our Pout House members that live there.
Good.
Yeah, we got the guys over.
Stop in and say hi.
Yeah.
Let's see. The next one was closer to home. It was the Allegheny Highlands Trail in Western PA. It's about in like grand total. It's a backpacking trail generally. I think it's just under 70 miles or just over 70 miles. I've hiked parts of it lots of times, but never the whole thing in all one shot. And I'd like to do that. So that was my close to home trip. And yeah, if you've never been on there, they have the water pumps, like the old fashioned, a lot of backpackers will know what I'm talking about. The big well pumps.
Yeah.
But the iron content is incredible. And the last time I was on there with some friends, we were calling the water bar stock because like it was so orange. It was interesting. It was great. Nothing a little Gatorade couldn't fix. Let's see. Again, total nerd. I'd like to go visit the first geocache, which is in Indiana, I believe. If you don't know what geocaching is, I could talk about that probably for a whole episode of this podcast, but I won't. I promise.
Please, God, no.
Yeah. I know. It's not your guys' thing.
I'm going to be sick that day.
There you go.
Hey, that's kind of cool. I mean, if
I know it's not for everybody, but
it's an adult treasure hunt.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Let's see. For some of the bigger ones, I'd like to take a Scotch tour of Scotland, meaning go around to all the different Scotch distilleries in Scotland. You can hike it or drive. I've seen it done a couple different ways, but and like you can do it by region. So it's not quite like going to different whiskey distilleries here in the States. It's a little more like if you go to the Jameson's distillery in Ireland and stuff, it's a little more like that, a little bit not tourist friendly, but I don't know how to explain it exactly. But it always looked like a great trip, and I love Scotch. So yeah, right. Scotch in Scotland would be awesome.
Nice.
Bike to DC was another close to home trip for me. I had looked at doing this trip with my mother a few years ago, and we were going to bike from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. because the Rail to Trails is complete from here to there.
Yep, right.
In fact, you can actually get on in Weirton now, which is really close to us, and go all the way from there to Washington, D.C. There's a little bit of on-road travel just because some of the trails link up with roadways. But for the most part, it's one complete bike trail, and they have like campsites along the way. And I've talked to Mike about that a couple times. I always thought that would be cool.
Well, you got to be in shape for something.
It's actually not too bad because of it being a rolled railroad bed. It's never more than a 3% grade. So your biggest conditioning has to be just sitting on your butt for that long.
That's what I mean. There's so much saddle time. What do you think it takes for time from here to there?
It can be done in a day and a half. It's 300 miles.
Yeah. We were figuring on taking a week to do the whole thing.
Oh, you were walking?
No, we were taking our time. We were going to go the relaxed way and actually do a few stops along the way because there's tons of cool stuff on the way there too. But something changed. I met my wife, got married, bought a house, and that kind of blocked that trip at the time. So we had to reschedule. So maybe
I
one
bet
day
your
here in the
mom
future.
would love to go.
Probably.
I have a baby
Probably.
bike trailer you can borrow.
There you go.
Oh, that might be good. Maybe we'll make it a
go.
family event.
Yeah.
But
Now,
yeah,
look, now it's sounding even funner.
yeah, heck yeah.
How cool would it be for your son to grow up and go, man, when I was a year old, my parents put me on the back of a bike and we went on a 3-day trip to DC. That'd be kind of cool story, man.
I know those are some of my funnest memories because when I was little, my parents had this car seat thing that would go actually on their bicycle. One of them went in front on the handlebars, and then one of them went on the back behind the rider. And I still remember sitting there as a really little kid, and those are some of my earliest memories. But I love that. It was good times.
That's cool.
Let's see. So I got two more, well, three, I guess, really like grandiose ones that probably will never happen, but I would love in some way at some point to experience these. I don't know if you guys ever saw the Top Gear episode where they drive across South America. Sam, you know the one I'm talking about.
Best
Yeah.
Top Gear episode ever.
What is
I
it?
really liked that one. So they drove it was one of their challenge ones where they could only spend $5 or something.
Yeah, I think they bought $3,000 4x4s, and they
Something like that.
had to complete challenges to
familiar.
get accessories. Like if you finish something first, you got the winch. If you finish something else first, you got off-road tires. And they ended up driving across Bolivia.
I don't know if that's the same one, but yeah. Anyway, they started on one side of South America and they drove to the other, and I just ever since I saw that episode, I was fascinated by it. And again, not a car guy, but I would totally love to play that game, and take $1,000 or whatever they had, and build up a truck accordingly to get from one side to the other, and just see some of the stuff they saw.
Turn into a truck guy.
I heard that too.
Sam, were you hearing that?
I
He's
heard
like,
that.
hey,
I'm
what's up,
curious.
truck guy?
I'm curious, is he going to take the TJ or the XJ?
Ah. Yeah.
I might.
Well, now
I might have to get it. I might have to get. What did they take, Sam? It was a 4Runner, wasn't it?
Oh,
They said was both the worst and the best, or something.
No, they had a Range Rover Classic, an FJ40, and a Suzuki Samurai.
Oh, I think I did see that one. I thought
Yeah.
that was good.
I remember that now.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, because Jeremy Clarkson was in the Range Rover Classic, and he said, ironically, the most unreliable vehicle in the world is the most reliable vehicle
That's
in
right.
the world.
Because then at the end they pushed it down the side of the mountain or whatever.
That was the FJ rolled down the sand dune
Yeah.
into the ocean.
Yep. So I would definitely like to do that. The other far-fetched one for me was to go to Mount Fiji in Japan. I would love to hike there, and I get that that's sort of it's feasible, but not right now really for me. But to spend time there and to actually go around and visit some of the temples and different parts of Japan, that would just be fantastic.
Do that one when you're 60.
Yeah.
Actually, I had a very dear friend he was older and retired. Him and his wife must have went to China, and this was years ago, 10 or more years ago now. They must have went to China 4 or 5 times a year. They just loved it. And they would go around and see all the different things. They'd been to the Great Wall, I don't know, tons of times. He just loved it. They both did. And they weren't like Chinese nationality or anything, but just totally fascinated by the country and the culture. So maybe when I'm older, I'll go to Japan. And my last one, I know this is super duper far-fetched, and I know I'm going to catch some grief from some people here, but I would love to go to the moon, actually, and visit the landing sites and walk around.
Hey,
I
you
think
could
that
be
would
the first.
coolest thing ever.
Sure.
I'm
You know,
not gonna-
California is
I'm
really
gonna-
not that far. We'll buy you a plane ticket.
You know what? I'm not going to poo-poo that because as funny as we may think that is right now, it's probably in your lifetime going to be a thing. There is a good chance.
Maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
come on, Scott. No, not in his lifetime. Not yours, his.
Wow.
He
Ain't
just
gonna
called you old.
We have to shoot pits.
Ain't gonna
Hey, he's allowed to have it on his bucket list.
Oh,
It's still
sure,
cool.
sure.
We didn't say the
I
bucket
knew
didn't have
it.
holes in it.
Unobtainium.
I knew I'd stir the pot with that one, so I
Make
figured
sure you
I'd
take
save
your
it for
camera
last.
with the little crosshairs so that you get them in the right, in front of or behind you, depending on if you're faking it or not.
All right.
Show of hands, those who actually believe we landed on the moon. Go ahead. Anyone else?
I'm
No?
undecided.
Sam, you. Okay, that's what I thought.
Nick, are you going to take a Fisher Space Pen or a pencil?
I believe strongly in 2 is 1, 1 is none, so I'll have one of each. But I like my Russian space pen very much.
Okay,
That's
gotcha.
cool.
And
All
if
right,
you
well,
don't know the
There's
story,
my bucket list, guys.
That's your bucket list. All right. No, those are some good ones. I was digging on the Scotland trip. I'm thinking, man, I didn't think of that. That would be kind of cool. Not
It's
so
very
much to
cool.
just to see Scotland and the Highlands, and like I'm
Yeah.
thinking, yeah, that'd be cool. That
Yeah.
would be a neat.
Yeah.
I'm
The one
thinking
thing
that.
about the Scotch, though, and if you know when you kind of get more involved in drinking it, you find out that Scotch from different regions of Scotland tastes differently. So, like, because of the peat that's harvested from different parts of the country, some Scotches are really smoky and like they have these really unique regional flavors that other Scotches don't. So it's one of those cool things. It's part of why a geographic tour is cool.
Dig it. All right. Who wants to go next?
Sammy!
You got voluntold, Sam.
I guess I got voluntold. That's all right.
All right. Wow us with your bucket list trip, baby.
Oh, my list isn't quite as long as Nick's, and I kind of just added some while he was talking. But
Me too.
I think the main one on my list that I would really like to do is travel to and camp in every state.
Oh, that's a cool one.
I have a friend that wants to do that too. He's an older gentleman, retired.
I think that
is-
would be really cool.
Now, are you talking about like the ones you haven't done, or just like all at once, kind of?
We're gonna hit them all at once.
Woo,
Okay.
baby.
Excuse me.
Including
I've done
Hawaii and Alaska? Because Hawaii, you got to fly, and I hear you don't do that.
Well, I'd only have to do it.
Not that?
I've done
Huh?
that trip. I've done that. I was a truck driver, hit every state, camped in a Freightliner, done, check.
I feel like it.
See,
He got-
I have
he got paid
an
to do
easier
that.
time believing that we went to the moon than that.
CDL.
Scott got paid to do that.
Even better.
All right, Sammy, go ahead.
Anywho, that's on my list. Next is I would like to
Wait,
visit.
whoa,
What?
slow down.
What?
How do you plan on doing this? In your rig, or are you getting an RV? Are you gonna ride a bike? What? Come on.
I don't know. I didn't think that far ahead. I'm sorry.
they do have a
Oh, you-
planned route where you can hit all 50 states in 3 months of driving.
That sounds
go.
painful.
Yeah,
Take a
that seems like
sabbatical.
a lot.
And it like the way that they have it routed is you stay in the 50 to 70 degree weather the whole way.
Oh, I don't hate that.
Yeah,
That's
You might
way
laugh
different from what
at
I
that
did.
one, Sam.
I didn't hear all of what you said. Nothing.
Repeat it, LT.
Repeat yourself, LT.
Oh, I said you may have to look into that 70-degree stuff. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I can
I'm
do
not
that.
against camping in the cold. That doesn't bother me.
You've got a wool poncho.
I do have a wool poncho. If
And
I
a
was to do this like tomorrow, I'd take my truck. But if I'm like planning this out and going to build a dedicated rig, that would be a different story.
Are you
Okay.
going to build it on an FJ?
Oh God, no.
I'd go
I'm from-
Winnebago.
I'm going to be comfortable.
Yeah, if you're going to be out for 3 months, you got to live good. You got to eat good. You got to live good, or it's going to be brutally and you'll be like, "Nah, this is no fun. I'm going home." Yeah.
Eating good's
Agreed.
not a problem. I mean, you did hear the last podcast, right? I think I got food covered.
Certain states I wouldn't mind skipping on that list though, like Nebraska. I mean, that's
You
one you
just-
can kind of.
Throw in Nebraska.
Okay,
Huh?
Mike. Those nasty emails that we're going to get about Nebraska, send them directly.
I'm not. Hey, that's just personal preference. Just I drove across that state. I would love to hear why people or what people like about that state. I would love to hear those comments. So
Oh, you're
no smart aleckness, just the challenge. What is good in Nebraska?
Keeps us
Let
away
know
from
in the
Kansas.
comments.
Oh boy.
Yeah. You may not be on the visual side next podcast, but whatever.
Oh,
All
boy.
right, Sammy, what else you got?
I want to visit Mount Rushmore.
Ah, yeah, that's cool.
Part of your
I
all
see
50
that.
states.
Yeah,
Yep.
might as well hit it while I'm there. And the other one I could do in this trip too, I want to go to the Grand Canyon. I've never been.
Totally awesome.
Yeah. Now, are you thinking you want to hike the Grand Canyon or you just go there?
Do I look like I hike? I'll park my truck and eat something while I'm there.
If you wear Crocs, maybe.
There you go.
I took the
Crocs.
four-wheel drive setting off of my Crocs.
Oh, yeah. You need those for the canyon. You
Uh,
gotta have that.
I'll have to get a new pair, I guess.
That's it.
Take 2 pairs, Rocky.
You might have a blowout.
Might have
This
flat
is true.
tire, yeah.
That's some good stuff. No, I like that idea of hitting all the states. That's a kind of cool trip, man. That would be a good one. Right on.
I think it would be fun.
Yeah.
I have a kayak camping trip.
Oh, now.
You haven't tried that yet.
No, and that's a little more feasible on the list so far. But I think that would be fun.
I have done that. It is quite fun. It is awesome, actually.
Was that the kayak that you kept flipping over?
No. This was actually on Lake Clendenning. We went from one end to the other on that, and that was cool. That's a local lake here. And I did it for the Boy Scouts. It was a great trip. That kayak actually fit me really good. And Andy Blanchard, if you're watching, bud, I still appreciate you lending me that one kayak, but it just was too little.
Couldn't hold your spare
I
Crocs.
like, so your kayak trip, do you have like destination thought on that? How many days? What are you thinking?
No, nothing really. Just want to do it.
Just do it.
I haven't decided where. Just want to experience that.
Kind of combine it with a fishing kayak.
Oh,
float
yeah.
kind of too. Yeah.
Lots of sunscreen.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
You should probably do it somewhere where Grant can drive along the shore and meet you with your truck so you can cook dinner every night.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
I mean, they do make houseboats and barges. You could just drive your truck onto that.
Did I say kayak? Maybe I just want to drive my truck down the river.
There you go.
Grant can be your sag wagon. Shepherd
I don't know
loves
what
you,
that
Shepherd
means.
loves you,
I'm sorry.
Scottle. Scottle boy.
I can barely understand him with his radio breaker 19 talk there. I don't know if anyone else.
We'll have to
can
get you an
grab it.
adventure scuttle so we can mount it on top of one of those floaty rings and it can go down the river next to you.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
You could cook and float.
it's not a bad idea.
I feel like you could make a lot of money with that, like Austin Lake or something, or wherever people like to go swimming in the summer.
Just float around cooking people hot dogs.
That's it. Floating hibachi.
Hey, they got
We'll get you a
food
little
trucks.
neon sign that says hot dogs $3 and you can paddle up to people.
There you go.
You're set, Sammy.
Sounds like a plan. And the last one, which is a little bit more far-fetched, and Bubby hinted at it earlier, is four-wheeling and or overlanding, whatever you want to call it, in Australia.
Cocky.
Yeah. I mean,
from the land down under.
I
You
feel
wanna
like that's
be
going to be on
invited
everyone's list.
right? Four-wheel drive action. You want to be
Yeah.
invited to come and wheel with those guys.
That would be awesome.
I don't hate that at all. That would be fun. Agreed. Yeah. So that takes care of your trips. They sound good ones. I really like the idea of all the states. And you know, I'm a fan of the kayak trip. It's actually on my list. So yeah, I'm all in for that. I'm sure your aunt wouldn't mind that if you let her come with us. All right. So there's Sammy's bucket list trips. Who's up?
Scott.
Oh,
I will
turnabout.
Go, I would go at first. Okay, I had one trip to talk about, and then as Nick's talking, I'm thinking wheels. Okay, so I got a few, mentions at the bottom here, but the main.
Wait a minute, hold on. I love how I'm the only kid that did the homework. What the hell?
I did for the first trip. I thought we were just doing one mega trip. And this is the main one, but I got other, stuff. Hey, Nick, I've camped in every state, Art. I've done a lot of stuff.
He's been to the moon, okay? Leave him be.
I've used the
There you go. Fair enough.
All right.
I've been everywhere, man.
That's right.
Like that, huh? Okay.
I almost had those memorized all those times. Okay. When I was searching and looking into buying that 2016 Tacoma, TRD off-road, the tandem.
Was that trucks ago?
So like 2 years ago, right?
No. I stumbled across a YouTube video with I got his name here. It was on the Motor Trend channel, and the guy's name is Arthur Saint Antone, and it's one of his things he calls epic drives. And he hit the big 5 national parks out west in the new Toyota, and boy, that sold me on partially on the color of the truck. I think I did want that quicksand color anyway, but that really sold it. And all the 5 parks he hit out there was amazing. So there's Zion, founded in 1909. Don't have a lot of info about it. I know that there's a couple parks. There are no off-road trails, and I think it's Zion and Bryce, and the other 3, I think there are. But I did see in his video that if you leave Zion and take Cottonwood Road over to Bryce, that is an awesome drive on a dirt road. Tons of scenery, of course. Bryce National Park is the second one. And he shows getting there early enough in the morning to see the sunrise and come over the hoodoos, which are these huge, think of a stalagmite, but bigger and not in a cave. Something along those lines. Pretty awesome scenery in all of these, but excuse me. And then you would leave Bryce. These kind of go in a chain too. So this, I think, is the order that he took. Blood LT.
I saw you were giggling.
The next one is Capitol Reef. And this area was named for a line of white domes and cliffs of Navajo sandstone. And they kind of look like United States Capitol buildings. I think that's how it got its name. Super scenic, of course. Number 4 is Arches National Park, which is 5 miles north of Moab. So I'd have to take a little detour to Moab too. And this contains the world's largest concentration of natural sandstone arches. There are over 2,000 arches in the park. Pretty big. And the last one is Canyonlands National Park, which is also just outside Moab. And it is widely known for its beauty, natural wonder, tranquil scenery, but most of all, its hiking trails. So you would like this one, Nick.
I'm on board.
Says people who enjoy frequent trips to Moab spend their time hiking, backpacking, four-wheeling, horseback riding in one of the 4 districts, I guess, within the park there. It's Island in the Sky, the Needles, the Maze, and the Rivers. Got to do more research into all of those, and he didn't touch on those. He did do some obviously some off-road driving in the Toyota, which was pretty awesome. in a stock truck, mind you. That was pretty cool. And again, that was on the Motor Trend channel. You'll see it if you come across it on YouTube, because I think the main picture is the quicksand colored Tacoma, and he is jumping it a little bit on a dirt road, getting a little air.
Just a smidgen.
So it's pretty cool. It's
Nice.
pretty neat. I'd like to do that. All the time that I was driving all 50 states and camping in them, I would call home and the old man would say, "Where are you at today, boy?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm on this highway and I saw this sign." So we get so delirious from driving. I would see these signs that say, "Exit here to go to the Grand Canyon. Exit here to see the Arch in St. Louis," and all these things. And I obviously couldn't just peel off with the Freightliner and go play tourist. I had deliveries to make. But the Big Five out west, I want to get out west again. That was my favorite driving area. Anything west of the Mississippi. It's wide open. It's not crammed in. You know, it's a huge, if you'd ever get to do it, drive out west and then go take a tractor trailer and drive through Boston, for instance, or anywhere up that way, even Pittsburgh for that matter. It's a little crazy. But once you get past the Mississippi and head west, it's fantastic. Wide open scenery. There's a reason, big sky country, you know, for that state. And it's just amazing, breathtaking. I'm glad I got to finally see the Grand Canyon on that trip that Mikey and I took 2 years in a row. That was fantastic. All right, the other little trips that I have noted here from years of enjoying Land Rover magazines and beating up my Land Rover local. Did get to take it to Canada a couple times, but always in those magazines is a trip in Africa to see the big game. And wouldn't want to take my own. I would love to just fly down and take a tour, but it would have to be in a Land Rover. I would want to sit on the game chair. Lots of those have a chair mounted right on the front bumper. For the guy who's hunting mainly, I don't need to do that part, but I want to be on the game chair, seeing the big game. That'd be fantastic.
That was
Next
almost
one.
on my list as well, honestly. I was thinking of Greg Goshawk a lot when I was thinking about it too, and I'm like, man, I'm a little jealous that he's done that as many times as he has, because that would be a fun trip.
Yeah. The next one is, as on most of our lists, I think, going to Australia, wheeling with the guys from 4WD Off Road.
It's like it's on all of our lists.
Yeah, I would want to do this, and I thought about it. There's a website. Well, that's for importing a truck from there. But there's, you know, just like up here, numerous used car lots down there where you can find vehicles you surely cannot find here in the States. So I would want to fly down, buy a used diesel Toyota pickup, drive all over, find some cool trails, do whatever I could stock, maybe just throw a winch and tires on it. Tour around, do some fun stuff, sell it, leave it there, or keep it and import it. We'll see. That would be awesome.
20 years.
What?
In 20 years.
No, there's some older stuff. I'm sure
Okay.
I could drive it around and put it on a sea container and bring it home. Next one would be, since I was a truck driver and saw numerous the signs for old Route 66, I would want to take a convertible Chevelle and drive Route 66 the whole way, or as much of it as you can. I don't think you can drive the whole
Where
thing
do you
anymore. What?
Where you been keeping the convertible Chevelle?
It's in the garage.
It's out next to the Willie.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's on Craigslist. Perhaps you've heard of it.
a 1970 Chevelle, Michelle and I's favorite one. Got to be red, got to be a rag top, got to be just for cruising purposes, an automatic. And take that whole trip. That would be a lot of. And the last one, which is sort of like Nick's moon trip, is reliving any of the Camel Trophy trips. Now, there is no more Camel Trophy, of course. And the essence of that trip is to really, I think, not do it yourself. It's the fact that you're within that group of cars and it's teamwork, and that I could not hire all those other teams and trucks to go with me. But every time I see one of those events, part of the reason I got a Land Rover. The Camel Trophy events are fantastic. Teamwork, what they do in a basically stock vehicle, amazing. Good times.
That sounds
That's
great. And again, you know, at least a couple of your trips are on my list. I guess going last in this, I just can say ditto and be done because that's good stuff. Though that would like Camel Trophy thing because that would be an exciting one right there.
Oh yeah, fantastic. Those trips are amazing, and I have met a couple of the guys that have been on Team USA for Camel Trophy. Bill Burke being the main guy. Met him a couple times. Super nice guy. Awesome stories. Great slideshow. If you ever run into him at a Land Rover rally or something like that.
Or get him to sign your door.
Get him to sign your truck. All kind of fun stuff. Good guy.
Good deal. Those sound like it. Those are they all sound like good little trips. Right on. Okay,
Next.
All
Mikey.
right. I don't know if I misunderstood or if I just did it a little differently, but I have mine broken down into 3 sections. So I have a list of doable trips. I have a list of my Land Rover bucket list, and then I have just bucket list trips in general.
That's fine. Yeah, whatever you want.
So we can just quickly go over the Land Rover events because they're all things that are already happening that I would just love to be able to go to someday. The Winter Romp in Maine.
Quickly. I like all that stuff too.
Yeah. So I want to go to the Winter Romp in
Maine. I'm
Maine.
not a car guy, but again, the trips themselves are cool.
Yeah. So definitely the Winter Romp in Maine in February. Absolute bucket list thing. I want to do that.
I don't think I know about that one.
Yeah, it's on a gentleman's property up in north central Maine, and it's done in the first weekend in February every year. So it's always like in the almost 0-degree weather, feet of snow and ice, and you should have tire chains. Like, it's just awesome.
Huh.
The National Land Rover Rally in Moab, just because it'd be an awesome drive out there. It'd be awesome to four-wheel in Moab in the Land Rover. The Scar, which is in Texas, just another would be awesome to drive to, awesome to wheel at. The Uwharrie Safari in North Carolina. So
I've never heard of that one. What's that?
So Uwharrie is a off-road park in a national park in North Carolina, and they just have a Land Rover event there. So you go and you camp and you drive trails, and it's always in the summertime, so they call it the Safari.
Cool.
Then Vermont Overland / the Southern Expeditions Trophy thing. So one of those, U.S. style Camel Trophy events where they kind of just give you, GPS coordinates and tasks and good luck.
Are those like team things, right?
Yeah, you need at least a driver and a co-driver, but you can have 2 vehicles per team if you want to.
Oh, sounds fun.
Yeah, so those are my Land Rover events. For the doable ones, I've always kind of talked about it, and we sort of did it when we went with the guys from Griffin Pocket Tool, but I want to overland to a show. Like, legitimately take trails the whole way there, or, not highways, go to a show, and take, a week to get there, do the show, then come back home. Just think that would be a lot of fun.
That would be fun. I know you and Scott kind of did it, but that was highway.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. That was a fun thing.
I've done a bit of this, but I want to do a trip through the Allegheny National Forest where you drive all the dirt roads, do some hiking along the way, but basically from one end of the Allegheny National Forest to the other on as many dirt roads as I can and hike as much of it as I can. I'm going to do the same thing in the Monongahela National Forest, so from end to end as many dirt roads as I can. At some point in time, I'd love to be able to do the back road discovery route that's on the East Coast that goes from New York to South Carolina. That would be awesome. And Laura and I are working on a trip where we're going to bike pack through the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon. So they have a rail trail that runs
very cool
along the whole canyon rail. And we're going to ride from one end to the other.
Would you do that without like getting resupplied? You're talking take everything, do the whole thing?
Yeah, it's basically a 3-day ride, and they have hotels and stuff along the way, so you wouldn't necessarily have to camp. But yeah, we would take a credit card and some supplies and basically go from one end to the other.
All right.
Then for my dream trips, obviously Australia, like everybody else, New Zealand, that area of the world, and kind of what Scott was talking about. Find a truck online, buy it, fly down there, drive around the country, ship it home. Like, that would just be awesome. I would love to go to Iceland someday and do either rent a Land Rover or buy a Land Rover and drive around the country, because the glaciers and all that stuff and those giant tires that they do on the Icelandic trucks, just those always look so cool to me.
Yeah.
And to kind of play off of Sam's thing, I only have 6 states left before I hit all 50, and most of mine are in the north section of the country. So I want to drive from here through those states and then up the Dempster Highway to Alaska.
Take it.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's a good thing. So these team event things, I mean, I read about them, I watch the videos and all that stuff too. That would have to be, I mean, that's got to be a brutal work though, because you're working.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
I mean, you're hung up, you're winching, you're digging, you're carrying tires. I think some of them even incorporate canoes, right? Don't you?
Yeah, they have canoe challenges. Some of them have shooting challenges. There's a little bit of everything, and each one's a little bit different. The Vermont Overland's more true camel trophy in that, like, you have checkpoints you have to hit, and like you have to buy things locally. So, like, you have to get maple syrup at a local store, and you have to get beer at a local store and stuff like that. So they incorporate a lot of local economy stuff in that drive.
Okay.
It's more about sightseeing and driving on all these class 4 roads, which are unmaintained Vermont roads. So they could be anything at any time. The Southern Expedition one is more of an organized off-roading event where there's challenges and things like that. So it's kind of a question of how you want to face it.
That sounds good, man. All these trips are good.
Some of them are like early Camel Trophy, and then the ones are like later Camel Trophy.
Yeah.
Sort
of. Are you saying one's softer than the other?
No, I've never done those events, but I will say later on, Land Rover started using the Freelander, so. Sorry, John.
Yeah. Now those all sound like good trips. It's one of those things you wish you could go on a sabbatical and like take off a whole bunch of time off of work, not counting what we're technically doing right now.
Because you need the money to do the trips.
Exactly. Yeah, these staycations, I'm not a real big fan of this one.
I'd be interested to see who uses their stimulus checks though to go on some sort of trip like this.
We still need to do the stimulus truck challenge.
Yeah.
I don't hate that idea. Sam, you need to write that down, bud. That's a good one.
Is that going to be up next?
Can I use for a backpack instead, since I'm not a car guy?
No, has to be a car.
Cars are down.
All of those trips would be something that I'm interested in, because we kind of all have the same mindset in our adventure isms. We like the camp, we like the truck stuff, except for next bike stuff.
Sometimes I do.
Sam's not a big hiker, but I'm sure we could drag him along on some of these.
Hey, if my truck will
just
fit
got
on
to
the
get
trail,
him the
I'll be
right
there.
pair of Crocs.
Yeah, right pair of
Stimulus
Crocs.
barbecue at the other end of the trail.
I just
I
want
can't have barbecue at my truck. So.
There's a hot scuttle waiting for you.
I want to apologize in advance to the listeners and the viewers. Y'all guys took most of my list, so I'm just going to have to tell you the way I would do it. I can't believe you said Route 66, Scott, because I was like, that is like one of those things. Honestly, goodness, I was like, because as soon as I saw you said that, I went, gotta be kidding me. He took my Route 66. So anyway.
Yeah, but you're
so
going to do
here-
it in your own hot rod someday.
Now, well, some of my trips are like the wife would really, Elaine would love to go on these. So I have a couple designed that for sure she would love to go, and I think we'd have a really good time. And some are Sam and I have talked about, and some are just like things I dig, and I think I might like to do. So I think one of my first, and I'm saying mine are all doable, except maybe one, but this first one, Moab. I want to go to Jeep Safari.
Yeah.
That is a doable trip. Now, I want to do it in a couple different ways. I do want to do it where maybe Sammy and I, honest to goodness, like Friday night after work or Thursday night after work, we go to Pittsburgh, get on a plane, fly out, have an Uber drop us off somewhere, and we just walk around checking out all the stuff for the weekend. I want to do that because I want to experience it from, I don't have to worry about my truck and parking and pretty much just get a hotel and an Uber and we eat good and we go check out the cool stuff. I want to do it that way. But I also do want to go, okay, we're taking a full week or a week and a half, whatever, load up the JK, go out there and do the actual Moab trip. I just want to do that. I think that would be such a fun thing. And I've never been to that section of the country. So that's kind of like a double thing. I get to see way cool Jeeps and I get to see that part of the world.
It's gorgeous.
So Moab and Sam, I think that's what, Easter time, right? Easter Jeep Safari is kind of,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is absolutely on my list for sure. Another one. Now this is an Elaine and LT thing, and we have been planning like quick trip. We got to take my parents to Vail, Colorado for one of their anniversaries year before last, and we liked it. We liked it a lot. We found a really cool hotel. Man, we could walk around and do all that. So we have a plan, and we're gonna, again, this is a doable trip, but this is on my bucket list because we're gonna do it, and we were actually gonna do it before this year's Blade Show, but as you know, all this stuff came up and we couldn't pull it off. And we really weren't going to tell anybody. We were just going to go. But now I got to tell you, here, just kind of like after work, zip to the airport, get on a plane, fly in Denver, shuttle over to Vail, spend a weekend. They have some kayaking. They actually have some four-wheel drive stuff going on there. Walking around the town, just eating, hit the brew pubs kind of thing. Do some kayak or canoeing, get on a plane Sunday, and be back to work Monday. That's our quick Vail trip. We really want to do it. I think part of the fun is getting it done in like the real quick. Hey, we're done at work. The buzzer rings, jump in the car, and you run to the airport. You get on a plane, you go do your thing. You fly back and you go to work.
You need a vacation to recover from your vacation.
We think that'd be fun though. So that is definitely on our thing.
I love that part of Colorado you're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
The Denver, Boulder area like that, Vail. That is some awesome country. And, yeah, when you get up into the mountains there, some of those lakes, Lily Lake and Bear Lake, that's some of my favorite country in all the world right there.
Yeah, we did a little bit of sightseeing, and we were seeing like, man, there's some really cool trails that we could just get out here and day hike. And again, that's why we kind of want to go back and just check it out for a weekend, and then maybe from there plan a longer thing too. I don't know for sure. Definitely my next trip, kayak trip. I have Sammy's dad and I planned. We bought a John boat back in must have been the early '90s when we lived in Northern Virginia. I used to get fisherman magazines, and me and him, we were hard and we're like, okay, we're going to do a float trip down the Shenandoah because we were in Virginia, and we were just going to do it for like a weekend, 3-4 days, do a fishing float camping trip. That was one of the things we did, and that has been in my brain for the last 25-30 years. It's like, man, I want to do a kayak float trip. I'm not real picky about where, but it needs to be like more than a one-nighter, you know what I mean? So that you really have to pack your stuff well, think your way through, like
backpacking.
The planning part's going to be half the fun. You know what I'm saying? Because you're going to have to like plan to be there for 3 days. Do I got my food? Do I got my water? You know, am I going to purify water? Do I got a hammock set up or whatever I'm going to do? Plus the fishing tackle and do some fishing. And I would love to float down or even just do some good kayaking, pulling fish out of the river, going to camp at night and having the fish you caught. I mean, that's just like, man, that would be such a.
Man, you guys are making me miss the water here. Now I'm gonna have to get a kayak. You're killing me.
I got one that fits in the
Killing me.
suitcase.
By all means, I'm
We
telling
can
you.
do
So,
a group trip.
yeah, I know Elaine would be in for a kayak trip like that too, because that just seems, it's one of those. It's a relaxing. Naturally, you'd want good sunny weather, but you know, you take what you get. But man, just having a nice, like camping on the river at a different spot, like for 3 days or something, that would be just a blast. Goodness, I really would like that. So that for sure is one of my trips. And then another one that Elaine and I had thought about doing as part of, you know, before, because we're not going to retire. So what we call semi-retire is get an RV and go around the whole U.S. hitting the shows to let people see our knives and our gear and stuff. So we would like spend our weekends going, say, to a show in Arizona and then something in Washington State or Seattle. And then during the week, we would take the RV and go see these things that we hadn't got a chance to see, you know, kind of meander our way to the next show and just spend an amount of time and then just have you guys mail us knives to whatever, you know, when we run out to over to this campsite that we're going to be at on Wednesday or something like that and get restocked and just stay on the road for a while doing the RV thing and just having a good time of that, getting to see some stuff, but still promoting the business, you know, getting out there and doing that. So for us, retirement that's kind of what we think might be a fun little retirement. I don't know if I want to do it for 10 years, but well, I think I could do it for a year. I think that'd be a good thing to do for a year.
Sure.
Because then you're still got an income and, you know, get to shake hands with some people out there that are using our knives and things like that. That'd be a good time. So I'd like that. And then I got 2 more trips, and one of them is definitely Route 66. It's just, if you're a car guy, that is one of those things from back then that you're like, I want to do it. And like Scott, there is somewhere that most of that trip or most of Route 66, you can hit some of it here and there. And
Yeah.
in the hot rod, yes, but it's in a basket right now, so we have to finish it before I can take Route 66 ride. But man, I think that would be such a cool thing. That would be a cool trip. And the thing is, you'd be seeing a whole bunch of different stuff. So that would be very, very interesting.
Well, what would you want to do that trip in, though?
The hot rod.
Oh, in the hot rod. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah. Now,
I don't know. If it's not a Hemi Cuda convertible, then I'm not into it.
Well, no. If it wasn't for the hot rod that I presently own, it would be my old 446 pack 69.5 Roadrunner. F8 for you car guys. It was F8 green, bench seat 4-speed. It was a cool. It was green on green, and it was my color. I've loved it, and it was ugly, and man, but it was a 6-pack. It was a real 6-pack. Yeah. Well, anyway, that would be my.
That was one of my dream cars. That's one of my dream cars.
Oh,
Reading
yeah.
hot rod magazines and what for years and working at the garage. 69.5, 446 pack, fiberglass left off hood.
Yes, sir. I had
And
one.
anyone that doesn't know, that
Sold it.
means it has 4 hood pins, no hinges. You got to
Yeah.
take the whole bonnet off and set it on the roof when you want to look at the engine.
Yeah.
Or tune the
And
car.
they came from the factory with black steel wheels and I believe chrome lug nuts. So that
Oh.
you didn't get hubcaps on them. The 446 pack car, it came like that. But I was really digging the bench seat 4-speed. I mean, this was your basic.
Yeah.
I mean, this
That's
was
pretty
your
cool.
bare bone drag pack car. It was cool. So anyway, that was the Route 66. And then like most all you other guys, I want to go to Australia and ride with the 4-wheel drive action guys. Now, a difference is though, I don't want to get a truck there. I want to drive Shawno's new rig.
Oh, yeah. The
Huh?
Dirty 30?
I want Shawno to let me drive is it the Dirty 30 he redid? Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to be like co-piloting, and he go, "Hey, LT, you want to drive this?" And I was like, "Yeah."
That's why I came.
Sure.
Let him pull the winch cable, right? So I got to say that would be a fun trip. I watch those guys all the time. I was like, man, that would be so cool to see something like that. Right on. So that pretty much covers my dream trips. I mean, they're adventurous in the most part. None of them go lay on a beach somewhere and
Cool.
just do nothing. It's doing something. So I think that's cool stuff. Right on. Anybody have anything to add to our dream trips?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe we can get a group discount flight to Australia.
Maybe, since we all feel like we want to go there.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah. We'll see if we can get it all. We'll have to have a knife shop set up so we can make some money while we're there. That'd be terrible.
Our dealer there would probably love that.
So, man, we hope those guys that get to see this on YouTube have fun watching us talk about this. You guys that are listening on the podcast, I hope it gave you something to pass some time. I mean, these are, when you got a little free time, planning your next trip, whatever that may be, that's cool. Whether it's camping and going out or unobtainable moon trips, whatever it may be, that kind of thing. It's fun to think about what you can do. And some of these are real doable, and some of them, I'm definitely going to do a few of these on my trip. Oh, look at that, he even lands. Yeah,
Here I am.
that's it. Sammy, what do you think one of our next shows are going to be?
Stimulus truck challenge. Didn't we discuss that a little bit ago?
Yeah.
That's a possibility. Right on. Yeah, we got some good ideas.
Is it going to be like the Gambler 500, but on paper, right?
Yeah.
Or just build a truck?
Oh, I like
Mike plans it out. You have to ask him.
You get to spend your stimulus check on a truck, and you get to put stimulus money into it. So you have $1,200 to buy a vehicle and $1,200 to upgrade it, and it can be anything you want.
Okay.
Sounds like a good plan. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Shack, and we appreciate it. We like being here, and we hope you had a really good time. Don't forget to check out our knives at ltwrightknives.com. And anytime you get a chance, check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and if you haven't joined the Pout House, become a Pout House member, man. They got a lot going on over there. I know we have some special stuff coming up this week, things we're doing all the time over there, and just some fun stuff going on. But thank you for being here. Thanks for supporting the Shack, and we will see you next time. God bless everybody. Bye-bye.